So earlier this month, the NEA Teachers Union held their annual convention in Chicago, and a Democratic campaign rally broke out.
We will say gay, we will say trans, we will use the words that validate our students and their families, words that encourage them to walk in their authenticity, to love themselves fully, to become who they are meant to be.
That was the head of the union, Becky Pringle. Joining me now to discuss this is Brenda Lebsack, who attended the conference. She is a teacher, former school board member who writes at the website Brenda for Kids. Brenda, welcome to Washington Watch. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, you participated in the recent NEA annual convention. Tell us what you saw.
Yes, I was a delegate for California Teachers Association to represent my district. And what I saw and what I heard was basically the platform of the Democratic Party and very radical ideas for public education, as far as making public education a place where we are to train social activists for leftist causes.
So what happened to reading, writing, and arithmetic? Somewhere that got lost.
I did not hear any of that. Very little. It's just a little bit about mathematical literacy, financial literacy, helping language acquisition for English learners. But other than that, the rest had to do with identity politics, had to do with abortion rights, the Second Amendment, definitely anything having to do with gender identities and sexual orientations, and that freedom fighters for the marginalized. And that little clip you saw from Becky Pringle, the president, that was actually, we have so many more genders than that. I mean, she's only listing a few. And when they call the Republicans of Washington extremists, yet they have two-spirit, genderqueer, transgender, cisgender, gender fluid, gender variant, trans masculine, trans feminine, non-binary, questioning, intersex. I mean, it goes on and on with these identities that we're supposed to be protecting.
So I would think, Brenda, that's got to be very complex to be in such a setting and make sure you use the right pronoun.
Well, I actually attended virtually because anyone who didn't have a vaccination card was not allowed to attend in person, even though our union locals did fully fund it. So yeah, I felt like anyone not vaccinated, we were kind of segregated outcasts and had to attend from home.
Well, Brenda, speaking of being an outcast, I think from a standpoint of just ideologically, you would be somewhat of an outcast given what I've heard coming from that convention. Are there other teachers like you who are committed to teaching children in the public school system and just don't buy into all this radical stuff, but they don't have a voice?
Absolutely. I don't think the radicals in the NEA represent the majority of public school teachers. However, they're doing a lot of arm twisting, and it's in California, it's through the laws. So basically scaring teachers that if we don't use all these preferred pronouns, we would be, accused of sexual harassment, that we would be mean people, because according to their suicide prevention, if we don't affirm all of these multiple myriads of genders, then we would be contributing to harm, suicide, depression, anxiety.
Now, I know you weren't there, and so you attended virtually, so you probably didn't have a lot of interaction with the other delegates, but from your perspective and what you might be hearing, as parents across the country are engaging at the school board level, addressing these issues of this radical transgender ideology, the CRT that's made its way into many of the classrooms, or at least the framework for that, is that making a difference by parents getting involved? Are you seeing or hearing anything?
Oh, yes, absolutely. They are feeling the pushback, but I just want to let parents know, because I did bring this up. I did speak 4 times in the debate because a lot of issues were about mental health and suicide prevention. And I spoke and said, if we're going to put money into mental health, then we need to be fully transparent about the suicide prevention hotlines that are being handed out to students now, because there's a lot going on behind parents' backs virtually. Our Trevor Project and the Trevor Space, the chat space that kids are being recommended into, are mixing minors with adults, unvetted adults, random adults internationally, to explore their genders and sexuality. This is not a safe place. This is a sticky web for sexual predators, and yet it's completely ignored.
Brenda, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for two things. One, I want to thank you for joining us today and sharing your experiences from last week's convention. But I also want to thank you for being a teacher and being in the classroom, being in what could be a hostile situation with an ideology that has just taken over America's classrooms. Thank you for caring about the kids and teaching them the things that will help them succeed, the basics of education.
Thank you.